Hi, this is Kieran Bond, the executive producer of The Detour. This episode extra is close to our hearts at Oregon Humanities, and one I'm really excited to share. When we were putting together our episode about war, we knew we wanted it to be personal and to stay close to Oregon. We also knew that we were slated to release the episode during the Ukraine occupation and on the back of the US withdrawal from Afghanistan. The Detour isn't a current affairs program, so we wanted to stay on the experience of war rather than the news of it. We had an interview with Karl Marlantes from 2014 in the archives and a close connection to Sean Davis, an Iraq vet, both of whom ended up featuring in the episode Going to War and Coming Home that we released in March. But during our research, another name stood out to us, Sosan Amiri. Sosan participated in and completed 2 Humanity in Perspective classes from 2019 to 2020, which is a program we offer at Oregon Humanities that provides free college-level humanities courses for people facing barriers to continuing education. Sosan has also had first-hand experience with war. She was born in Afghanistan and was a refugee as a result of the Taliban occupation as a child, moving from Pakistan to Iran to Russia, and finally immigrating to the US in 2011. In this conversation with my colleague Rozzell Medina, Sosan talks about her experience as an Afghan American watching the US withdrawal from Afghanistan take place, and how she went on from not being able to speak English to advocating for her family, community, and country in front of Congress last year. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to a special episode of The Detour by Oregon Humanities. I'm Rozzell Medina. Sosan, thanks for being here. Really glad you're here. And this is just an opportunity for us to talk. And I'd like to start by just asking you, do you remember the first time that we met?
Yeah, I remember that time. I wasn't graduate from college community, and I met you at Southeast, and I talked with you, and then I was very excited to be in your class, and I wasn't sure, and we had the interview, and then we started the classes.
Yeah. In the class that you took, the Humanity in Perspective courses that you took with me and with the other instructors, do you remember some of the things that you learned in those classes that surprised you or that changed your mind or that left an impression in some way?
Yes, be honest, I learned so much from humanity perspective from different instructor. Especially, I didn't have any open mind about the African American in the United States, what really was their story and how they achieve their right, before they didn't have any right, and then they achieved their right. And the people who fight for us, and right now as a refugee, as a Muslim, and I can live in the United States with a peace, with the full of right,
Yeah. I remember when you took your first class with me, I remember that you told me that you wanted to take the class because you wanted to learn, you wanted to improve your English. And I remember you told me that you were taking the class because you wanted to understand our culture better. I'm curious, how long had you been in the U.S. before you took the class? And what were some of the things that you felt like you didn't understand about our culture, or maybe things that you wanted to understand better about the culture?
I came to United States in 2011, and then I couldn't speak English, and I had one child, and before I was in Russia, and I was looking for a better life and education. But in Russia was very frightful for refugee, especially who has different color, and we afraid from police, and they stop us, and they took a lot of money from us. And I had the same problem and the same things in my mind when I came in the United States. And because of that, 1 year I was home, I remember, and I didn't go out, and I was afraid, and especially the language barrier, and if someone is asking me a question or what to do and how to answer the question, just I went to the doctor office and I come home. I didn't know anybody, know the organization, nothing. I was then I pregnant, and I had my second child in the United States. I couldn't speak English very well, but I feel I need to learn English. And I went to community college, and the community college is a big classes, and a lot of students and the different kind of instructor. And I have a good experience and not good experience, but they always encourage me. Oh, you're speaking really good English. You can go for higher classes, but I didn't learn very good English. And then when I heard about the humanity perspective with a lot of reading, and I feel, oh, this is a right class for me. And when I took an interview with you, and really is improve my language, especially the separate class we had together, and you help us me and my two sisters to learn English, and it's helped me a lot. And another part, my first goal was to learn English better, and then and also at the same time and the culture know better.
That makes me really curious. You live here, your family, your sisters have lived here for a long time, your husband, your children are growing up here. I'm curious in terms of your experience, what did you hope to find here in the United States when you came here? And do you feel like you found it? Do you feel like you're still discovering it?
When I came United States, about the freedom of speech and education, I really, for the education, the low level for the high school, and I couldn't really find it because the school is, I feel the public school is not really safe. My son, he went me to come to pick up him because he said that my classmate is laughing to me to why your mom is wearing the fabric, and why you're like this. And also I heard a lot about the public school, especially they are not teaching right and wrong. They are teaching just what you think is right. What is your belief is right, and because the kids really need to learn right and wrong, because and also about there is a justice, but it is not really everywhere. I see you have to lose something, you have to earn something. I know, I believe this to be like this, but for the middle class, especially for poor people, is not really justice here. I find out.
So speaking of justice, so the first class you took with me and with other humanity and perspective instructors, we learned about art, we learned about philosophy, we read Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail. We learned about artists who do work in their community, working creatively with their communities. And then the second class that you took with me was about social movements and about how movements for economic and racial and environmental and disability justice, how people work together to try to make the world look and feel more like the world that they would like to live in, right?
Perfect.
And so we did, one of the projects we did in that class, I invited every student to do a one-person protest, right? With that project, every student made a sign. Every student wrote a pamphlet describing not what they were protesting against, but what they were trying to communicate for. And then every student was asked to go out into the community and to perform or implement the protest. Can you talk a little bit about in that class what your one-person protest was about?
Yes, of course. Because of that, I talk about the justice, and it's made me think more and it's made me think deeply. That people, I really appreciate the things they did. I cannot even appreciate that. Because of that people right now, I have a right to talk and to fight for my right,
When you say that, those people, are you talking about
Martin Luther King and the other ladies, and there were many, but I forgot the name, most of them.
Yeah, we talked about the American Indian movement.
Yes,
we talked about the Black Power movement, people who advocated for disability justice.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
that movement is really, really affected right now for refugees. When I looked at my life in the United States, which is I'm really happy and I'm really appreciate to be here. That's my honor to be as Afghan American. My speech was about abuse power. And right now, when I said as the justice not really in the United States, because the power, who has a power always want to do something for their business, to want to keep that power, sorry, I want to say more about it. I don't know the word for it, And my speech was when my one-person protest was in the mall, and I took my writing on my hand, and there were a few people come and wrote it and read it, and then they show me like this, good.
Yeah. I also remember in that protest, you brought it home because you were looking at homelessness.
Yes.
And here in Portland, it's such a, in so many places, including Portland, everywhere you look, we look at people who seem to not have any options or who seem to have very few options. And I remember you made it very personal by saying there are people who have so much power who are abusing this power, and there are people who don't seem to have much power at all. So why don't we work together to sort of redefine what power is in our society? And I thought that was great. I also really appreciated that you did it in the mall. You went to a shopping mall. There were a lot of people there. Like you said, people were interacting with you. So I want to talk about what happened last year. If you could just talk about what your experience was like when you found out that the U.S. was drawing military out of Afghanistan, and if you could talk about that time and what that was like for you.
Yeah, when I did my protest abuse power, and if I see the bigger angle, bigger things, how the government is trying to do, and they are ignoring the people, the ordinary people who want to live have a good life. I believe it is between the Afghanistan government and United States government. I mean, the people who is doing the politics or military or someone who is doing these things. When they give the power to the Taliban, or the Taliban try to fight to achieve in that power to occupy my country for second time, it made me very, very serious to think very deeply what is going on in this world. I'm originally from Afghanistan, and my families live in Afghanistan. My father is fighting for many years for women's rights, and he is very educated. And what happened to him, because I know the Taliban has killed a lot of people before, and my father was hide, and the first time we went to the Pakistan, Iran, we were refugee, and we had really, really hard time. I lost my childhood, and then I thought I don't want to my sibling, my nephew, my neighbors child is experienced the experience I had, and then I thought to do something, what to do. And then I started to contact with senator, even with the Joe Biden, with the people who really has a power to make them to do something, and as much as I can.
So when you heard that the Taliban might come back into power in Afghanistan, what are some words that describe how you felt at that time?
I can say very, very sad. It's remind me all the hard time I had before, and the time my father was in Pakistan. We had really hard time in Pakistan. We came back in Afghanistan, and even I saw a lot of murder and my eyes, and then it remind me all of that. It made me, I can describe that feeling. I couldn't sleep one night, and that night I tried to find a connection with Joe Biden and to contact him.
So this was last year, 2021.
Yeah. 2021.
And so when you found out what was happening, you decided to try to contact Joe Biden, President Biden. What did you do, and what did you say in order to try to contact him? What were you trying to communicate to him?
I wrote about myself. I am Sosan Amiri. I am from Afghanistan originally, and I came in United States for better life. And right now, I have a good life here, and I was happy as freedom in my country, and my family is free. And I know the politics, what they are doing. I saw the news, and my belief is the government is give the power to them. And then I wrote all of these things, and I said, "Oh, what do you think? And please do something." And then I sent it to him, and he is not answering me. Oh my gosh! And I said, "That is not cool." He's not answering. And I resend it, He is not answering. And then I try to contact with the senator, all the senators in the United States, and I sent my email to, I think, for 20 or 30 senators.
So after you sent the email to Joe Biden, and you sent him the videos and things like that, and he didn't respond.
No,
not cool, Joe. He didn't respond. So instead of giving up, you decided, well, I'm going to look up all the senators that I can find.
Yes.
And then you sent emails to senators, asking them. At that point, were you basically asking them the same thing? What's going to happen, or what were you asking them? And then, did you ever get a response from anyone?
Yeah. After a few days, Senator Dan Crenshaw office contact me and asking me, send your family passport and your citizenship. I was really, really happy, and my sister, she never applied for passport, and she didn't have it, and they asked me the passport, and then 5 of my family, they had a passport, and I sent to them with my citizenship, and there was another form, and I fill out that form, and then they said, okay, we will evacuate your parents from Afghanistan. And finally they did.
So I'm curious, because I think a lot of people who hear your story, they can hear your story, but they'll never know what it's like, exactly what it feels like to be afraid, to be sad, like you said, because their family is somewhere, your parents were somewhere where these very real effects of war had really jeopardized not only their lives, but their neighbors' lives, their friends' lives, the lives of the people who they buy bread from, the store. You felt a different way, like every 2 minutes. Like, I hope this happens. I hope that happens. What's going to happen here? Like, it was this, when you've described it to me in the past, it almost sounds like there was a sort of frantic quality to what you were feeling. What did that feel like? And what did you hope might happen? And what did you fear might happen?
You know, the time when the Taliban occupy in Afghanistan, and we thought it is just a sleep, it is just a dream, and maybe they are lying, and nobody believe it, and the sleep immediately is disappear in my eyes. You cannot believe, and 2 days, 2 nights, which is more than 24 hours, I didn't sleep. I feel like, when you be in the room and the room is full of water and you want to go and you see the outside is clear and you can breathe and you can be calm, but you can't go in the outside. Even you can, but you can't. And I was in that situation with my whole family. And on the August, one of my father friend, which they worked together, a group of Taliban, they knocked the door and the son opened the door and they asked, "Where is your father?" And he said, "Okay, I am father in the house." And they are calling him. We want to talk with him. And he went and he called to his father. And the father, when he came and directly they took him and they hit him very badly in front of all the neighbors and the child, and they ask about something, and then immediately they kill him in front of the kids, in front of the neighbors, near the door. That is because my father, he said, from this 40 years fighting in Afghanistan, I never live in Afghanistan. I love my country. I want to live. I want to do something for my people. At least they feel there is someone to fight for us. I don't want to leave my country. And then we heard that, and I talked with my father, please make a decision. Please do it. Please. I asked him a lot. And then he said, okay, if they find you, they will kill you. And then all of my family were like, full of stress, and we couldn't sleep. We couldn't think about any other things. Just we thinking how U.S. military allowed the Taliban to occupy Afghanistan. What was the behind of these things? This is a big question in my head. Why they are doing these things? Why the people, ordinary people, who has a right to live a good life, why they don't want to allow them to do? And just they are thinking about their power, They are abusing the power.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too, to hear you talking about this sort of the continuation of time, the continuum of time, how we can be aware of how struggles in the past shape the present, and how our struggle, and how we can only imagine how our struggles now are going to shape the future. I think that's so fascinating, and I think that there's a lot of power in thinking about that. So after Dan Crenshaw's office contacted you, you went through this process to have your family evacuated from Afghanistan. But you did more than that. You decided that it wasn't enough just to help your family. You wanted to help other people in Afghanistan as well. So what did you do?
Yeah, and when I, before there was a news the Taliban will occupy Afghanistan, like this stuff. And then one of my cousin, he was SIV, SIV was a special visa for Afghan people who work with U.S. government, U.S. military, and he applied for SIV visa. In 2015, he rejected the embassy reject him because of some kind of the document or something. And then another friend contacted me. What we do, we got a ignore from embassy to not receiving the visa. And then do something. And I thought, okay, when I'm receiving all of this kind of help from the people who is fighting for me, and right now they are not in this world, and there is a position for me too to do something. And this the protest I did about the abuse power, and the writing and the reading I did, and the talking we did together, it gave me a power. Oh, I am someone to do something. And then I wrote an email for the Senator Wyden. Mm-hmm. And I wrote an email for them. I want to be advocate for Afghan SIV. And then they send me an email, okay, and send your document, these things. And I said, I don't have any kind of documents, but I want to be a voice for them. And I send all their messages for the senator, and then they started to help me. And I said, okay, we're going to help for these people. And then they send me a form. Okay, they have to sign this form and send it to us. And then my job started from there. And since I work with them, another special force contact me to evacuate for 320 people from Afghanistan to be a translator or to do something. And I made a group, and we couldn't sleep 24 hours. We helped them. And at the same time, after 2-3 weeks, I received an email from the Congress, and they invite me to come and talk in the conference to be since you was an advocate and you was a voice for them you help them. And then I went to Washington D.C. in the Congress.
It was interesting to me to hear you describe that feeling, like you were treading water, like you were drowning, and you were looking, and you could see, well, there's somewhere where there's not water, but I can't get to that place. But you kept trying. But all the same, you realized, well, I'm someone who can do something, and I'm going to try. So you tried. You worked with the senator's office to get your family evacuated. You started a group for other people to connect around trying to create a solution for themselves, for their families, things like that. And then you were invited to Washington, D.C. To speak about your experience. Can you talk a little bit about who invited you, what you did to prepare for that, and then what the experience was like for you?
The office of Dan Crenshaw's office.
Dan Crenshaw's office.
Yeah, the Dan Crenshaw office were there, and a special force army inviting me, and with the Dan Crenshaw office. And they were like 3-4 group work together to do the evacuation, which they did. 100 of family evacuate, and I thought and they asked me to speak for 3 to 5 minutes. And since my English wasn't really good, I was wondering what to do, where I should ask. And the first person is come in mind, oh, Rozzell, oh my gosh, he's a best friend, a best person. And he never reject me. And I contact you, and you helped me to write my story for the first time the Taliban came, and how was that, and then what was my plan, and then we wrote that, and I went to the Washington D.C. I was near the White House. It was really great experience, really great experience, but my heart wasn't happy because of the people were in the hard time. Even some of them message me, we can't go outside to buy something. We are afraid to maybe they took us and they will kill us. And even the Taliban time, like a woman can't go outside without a man, or husband, father, or brother. One of these 3 things should be with a woman. And I was struggling with that groups, and always with the speech, and also with the speech I had with the Congress. And when I went to the Congress that night, I cannot believe it, and there were a lot of people. I wish to say my thought and my dream with the people who really has a power, because the time, you remember when I wrote my one person protest, I didn't think about the one day I go to the in front of the power one people to say about the power abuse, When I saw them, and I forgot all of my speech. and I went in front of all of them, and I talk about 3 minutes about what I did, but not from the paper I wrote. It was really excited, very happy to be there. And at the same time, I wasn't happy, because it reminds me these people who making the power, who is making the rule, who is making the law, and why they are not thinking the other people are abusing, and then why they are not taking that people who is abusing the power and not putting in the jail or somewhere, and they are free. They are walking and they are making the rule. They are breaking the rule. Nobody is catching them,
Yeah. So you were in this elegant setting, where you were being driven around Washington, D.C., and then you get to go speak to these powerful people about your experience. But in your mind, you're thinking, well, thousands of miles away in Afghanistan, there are people who still can't leave their house. There are people who are scared. So that's in your mind at the same time as you're speaking to these people, and you're wondering, why aren't you doing more with your power? I remember one time you told me the solution is not to evacuate everyone from Afghanistan.
Yes, yeah. That I still saying that is not the solution to evacuate. Another time I wrote another essay or writing, and I said the solution is not to be the military of United States to be in Afghanistan. And a lot of money they are using for a lot of things, but not the solution is not that. After like many years, you see the solution, the result wasn't good. And the solution to evacuate the people, there is both sides, good side and wrong side. Most people in Afghanistan, I think in the world, the people abusing us because of the lack of knowledge. And if they evacuate like another 1,000 people, but in Afghanistan, 30 million people. And then what about the others? I know their power. They have the power to take out the Taliban again. But the reason they are not doing it, I really don't know.
I'd love to hear two things. One of the things is I loved hearing you talk about how suddenly you realized, oh, I'm someone who can do something. It's not going to come from somewhere else. It's going to come from me. Were there any things that helped you? You know, maybe there's someone who hears your story who thinks, I would love to feel that way. I would love to feel like a solution is going to come from me. Is there something that helped you not only to feel that way, but to be guided by those feelings?
Since when I look my childhood during the Taliban time, I was 5 years old. The Taliban occupied Afghanistan. We went to Pakistan, and then in a different name and different area we went because it wasn't very hard to live in Pakistan. And then we come back in Afghanistan, and my father was live with unknown name because in a different city we live. And my father, he helped we have a secret school during the Taliban time, and I learned how to read and write and a little bit science, but still I had really hard time. That is really affected when I saw murder, a lot of things in the street. And then when I was 18 years old, I went to Russia. I married with my cousin, and then I went to Russia, and there was another problem. I went to study there. I finished the high school in Afghanistan. I went there to study, and there was another problem. When I came in the United States, because of that problem in Russia, I was afraid to go out in the United States, and I didn't have any kind of help. And we had a food stamp. I know there is a lot of organization, but it wasn't really helpful for me. Maybe there is for others too, but for me, it's just for me. I'm talking about myself. And I worked from 2011 till 2016, I really couldn't speak really good English. I was like home wife. And when I went out to learn more English, and I meet to you, and then I learned so much from humanity perspective. If I can make a conclusion about all my life, and the humanity perspective and Mr. Rozzell is made my life to be helpful in this world, because you are the the second person who without to asking me to, because in the United States for everything you have to pay, and without to asking me to pay or something, and you spend many hours to help me for my writing and for my language, and also for my sisters, and make a good correct sentences. And this is made me to someone as I am in this world. If I receive this kind of help, I have to be something like him to help the community. And I made a class online. Right now I'm teaching, but it's in Persian. And I made a class for Afghanistan children, which is 30 children in one class. And I'm paying for one teacher, which is not too much, under $1 a month. And she's teaching for the children. And I'm sending the good YouTube video for them to learn the knowledge, the bigger knowledge, because in Afghanistan, there is not like in the United States, they are really, everything is closed for them. Even the teacher is not very knowledgeable. And because they are learning more traditionally, a bigger view.
Yeah.
And I'm teaching them to look in the world in a bigger view and build their knowledge. And these children, when they grow up, they will have another 30 family, and then the 30 family have another few children, and then at least 30 family have a knowledge to see the world in the bigger view. I can say, United States, and then one of my friends, she's from Texas, and she learned, she taught me English a little bit. And then Mr. Rozzell, and the second one is make my life to be different, to be someone useful in the community and the world. I have been thinking for a long time about helping my people and solving their problems. I dream of meeting people in high position and sharing my story. Now I have been invited to this wonderful event, which feels like a dream come true. And I have been bigger dream to advocate for world peace and care and safety and of my people and the land. In Afghanistan, we have a saying, everyone has a moon brightening their life. The moon has a bright side and also a dark side. Sometimes we do not recognize the dark side until something happens. That draws our attention to it. I was born in Kabul, Afghanistan. The dark side of my moon revealed itself to me when I was 5 years old, and the Taliban occupied our country. What a dreadful time that was for all Afghans, but especially the women. All schools at the time were closed to women. At the age of 5, I went to a secret school. It was a very difficult time for me, but my parents pushed me to keep trying. They taught me that education is the only way out of ignorance. And this inspired my passion for education. Now I am continuing my education and hoping to work in service to humanity.
Sosan Amiri is now teaching a class of her own and hopes to start a project that would create economic and cultural opportunities for Afghani women in the US. Thanks for listening to this episode extra on The Detour.